it's the magnetism that people feel for the Berkshires. It's a great residential area. You have very good employers here, and actually you have a very enviable quality of life. And I think that that's noteworthy as well, given the dramatic changes that I've witnessed during my lifetime in terms of the cultural opportunities that exist throughout the Berkshires. It's really magnificent. And it gives me a chance to talk a little bit about my committee assignment, the Ways and Means Committee, which is a very small committee, about 41 members.
Very powerful, though.
It's a very powerful. We do taxes, trade, tariffs, Medicare, Social Security, pensions, welfare, and a small part of Medicaid. And that's important because Berkshire's vitality and vigor, they're linked clearly to the role that Medicare plays in our lives. Understand that healthcare in Massachusetts, with these hospitals and their reputation, it's really Boeing and Microsoft as they would apply to the Pacific Northwest. Well, I did. I worked my way through the precincts and the wards and really spent a lot of time developing a vast knowledge of the role that local government plays. And I spent 16 years in local government. And so oftentimes the ill will based upon doing the right thing begins to accumulate.
That's right.
And you find that very quickly. I always point out that there are always 3 good proposals, 3 good projects, or 3 good people in front of you, but you can only choose one. And then at the ripe old age of, I think, 32 or 33, got elected mayor. And they were very good years for the city. Then Congressman Bolin, who was my predecessor and a longtime friend, he decided that he was going to retire after 36 really admirable years in the Congress, and I opted to run for Congress. And it's unusual to the extent that most members of Congress did not come from the mayor's office. Well, I served with Silvio Conti for 3 years, and we were very good friends. And Silvio Conti came from a generation that, frankly, I have great admiration for, largely because it was the skill of door knocking and hand-to-hand political combat, but it was also understanding that certainly there are issues, but most importantly there are people. But I recall at the end of his life that when he knew that his time was coming to an end, he pointed out at a get-together that I visited with him that there was probably not a family in the Berkshires whose lives that he had not in some measure touched. But the reality is that there are fewer Republicans who are of a mind to offer some of the compromises that are necessary. I've been very careful over the course of a career not to sign some of these foolish documents where people insist that you take a position on something that might happen 10 years from now. Try that in your own life and see how well that goes. I mean, I want to say that I think you've done a great job with the Colonial Theater here. I think you've done a great job with restoring North Street. I think that's in federal partnership. And I think that sense of confidence allows you to build upon accomplishments, recalling that in public life, like in our own lives, privately, that once you reach your potential expands. This evening, if you were to talk about the Colonial Theater, it was absolutely dark for decades. So without the use of the New Markets tax credits, $17 million of New Markets in a $21 million project. The only way you could entice a developer to undertake that initiative would be through that example. And I think that New Markets, they've generated about $50 billion worth of investment across the country. And the value of the property goes up, as you know, John, from your time in local government. That enhances the revenue that is returned to the city based upon that property valuation. And I think having a thriving central business district in an old New England city is a good idea.